I wanted to jump on and talk a little bit about what happens as we start going through transformation and we get hit with really challenging times or traumatic times or times that bring on grief and hardship. Um, I find that this tends to set a lot of people back. And I think it's common in the spiritual community. We hear about spiritual bypassing. That's because once we start going through transformation and waking up, we understand that our frequency matters, our vibe matters, how we feel matters. If we stay in a negative state, that affects our reality. If we stay in a positive state, that also affects our reality. Our beliefs about what's possible, what's limiting, our understanding of fear versus love, all of this awareness and education that really, it's not a bad thing to want to move towards light and love and away from fear and negativity. It's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing as you awaken to want that for yourself. But I find that many people, and I've done this myself, this year has been a year of growth in this area and expansion in this area because I've realized that when you start to understand your frequency matters and it really manifests your reality, you tend to want to avoid at all costs anything that could bring you down, that can bring yourself in a negative state, in a fearful state, in a sad state. So you start avoiding those things. What happens then though is you become very surface level. You're not extremely authentic to the human experience because welcome to the human experience. You're going to come up with challenges and you're going to come up with sadness. You're going to come up with grief. People are suffering. So if you honestly are trying to avoid that at all costs, you're not going to be very authentic and people are going to see through that. They can't trust you if you can't enter into hard stuff with them, if you can't enter into grief with them, if you can't enter into deep, hard, painful experiences with them, then you're not going to have the full experience of humanity. And you can't be really of service in helping others awaken if you can't step into their darkness with them, their shadow with them. So I'm also realizing that as we awaken and as we understand more and more about frequency, we're actually given more opportunities to transmute spaces of grief, of challenge. And if we start saying, yeah, I understand this about myself, I understand my frequency creates my reality, then you're going to be given opportunities to really put that into practice. You're going to be given the harder opportunities. You're going to be given the challenges. You're going to be given times of grief and pain in order to really expand into that. This is the thing that I have learned about this is when we really believe that our outlook and our belief and our perspective is what matters, that nothing has innate meaning beyond the meaning that we assign to it. If you say you believe that, you're going to be given opportunity to really put that into practice. This year has been so much growth and opportunity of that for me. And let me tell you, when things started to happen, I was believing for X, Y, and Z here, and I was given something different. I was given something that I did not want and did not prefer. And when that first started to happen, one thing after another, I had a lot of self-judgment. I had a lot of doubt in myself. I started really questioning I worked through blocks and there were blocks there and there were things that I needed to see. But then I still sat in self-judgment of like, why am I attracting all these things? There must be something wrong with me that I am attracting these things, until I realized I'm judging the things. I'm putting all these labels and judgment about what's good and bad. And yes, things were hard. I walked my grandma into transition. I was her caretaker as she passed on. And that was something that I did not have any control over. It completely stopped my life for several months. And it was a time of grief, a time of pain, a time of challenge. And I realized going through that, there's nothing wrong with that. It's painful, there's grief, it's very challenging. My whole life had to get put on pause, but that is life. That is the opportunity. And I had the opportunity to label that good or bad. I had the opportunity to go, I can expand my own way of love, my own being in this moment. I could be here for her in full love, and I could use this as an opportunity to expand into that. Or I can judge it as bad. I can judge it as suffering. I can judge it as there's something wrong with me that this came up right now to interrupt my life. I could judge it in all the ways. And that's just one example. I had financial struggles. I had relationship struggles. I had job struggles. There was a lot. And I had to decide, am I going to judge this stuff? Am I going to judge myself? Or am I going to use this as an opportunity to stay in a higher frequency? And when you can start to really take that on as an opportunity, everything that comes into your reality as an opportunity to stay in belief, to stay in trust, to stay in your own power, in your own safety, to know that all is well no matter what. No matter and pain, grief is not a bad thing. When you can enter into that and be completely open and vulnerable to whatever is there, whatever pain is in you or in others, that's when it can be transmuted. This is the shadow work that everybody talks about, right? When you step into the fear, the pain, and you fully just open up to it. And what it's calling for is attention. What it's calling for is love. What it's calling for is compassion. And when you can enter into that without any judgment, it will transmute, it will dissolve, it will work itself through. It won't hold in your body. Grief won't stay in your body when you just allow it to move and not call it bad. When you just are there, present, witnessing it, having compassion over yourself or others. This is when it gets transmuted. So I just want to kind of clarify, I am all about so many, and you will see this in my videos, you will see this in my posts about holding space for all the beautiful, lovely things. I want to give my attention to beauty, to love, to light. I want to bring that to the world, and I want to be careful of what I'm consuming. I want to consume that on a daily basis. I want that as my life. That does not mean I bypass the hard stuff. That does not mean I bypass grief. I bypass pain. I bypass challenge, or I call it bad and avoid it at all costs. It's not bad. This is part of human experience. And everything in this human experience is there for our expansion, for our growth. And especially when you start walking this transformational path of spiritual awakening, you will get confronted with that in your own life, and you will be sent people going through that. And that's how you can serve, is because you are so centered in your own safety, in your own power, that you can enter into the other's pain, and you can build your capacity for pain, because you're not responsible for it. You don't take it on as your own. You are centered in your own strength and your own power and your own love, and you can hold that unconditional love for others, and you can expand your capacity for that. And that is how you can serve others. That's what I do in my coaching containers. That is what I continually work on expanding, is my capacity to hold others' pain in a way that is a container of wholeness and love. I can be that container of wholeness and love because I am standing strong in my own safety and in my own power of love. So I just want to, that's just been something that's been on my heart lately, to touch on, because I know that a lot of people make fun of spiritual awakening because they talk about spiritual bypassing, and that people start being like, oh, only love and light, and I can't talk about anything dark. And I just want to say there's good things about that, and also there's more to work through. There's more in people's journey. So let's just have grace and compassion for wherever anybody is at in their journey. First of all, let's not judge when people want to be all about love and light, and let's not judge when people are in severe states of anxiety, depression, grief, and suffering, because both are valid and both have intelligence um, and so much to teach us. So much. If we allow it, if we don't judge it, if we allow it, if we allow it. So much love to you.